Ladies and gentlemen, the goofiest grin thumb. Did I say grim? The, the goofiest grin thumbnail of the internet goes to the CPU squad. Not to mention the goofy hat. Anyway, just want to give you guys a quick update on our trading platform project. Started at the bottom. Now we're here. Started as a fixed engine project, and now morphed into trading systems, so fixed engine and OMS or front end. Um, so I spent some time over the weekend focusing on the database stuff. So I didn't get into integrating or talking to the database from Python, um, or at all, using any kind of tools like command line or whatever. I've been dealing with database stuff sort of in isolation of the rest of the project, just because that's sort of the R&D or research and development phase of things where I'm exploring and figuring things out before I invest more time into the actual work that needs to be done. So one of the things I've been exploring is, well, first of all, finding which database setup I'm going to use. There's Postgres, and there's also SQLite. I've been focused mainly on SQLite. Then there is designing the schema. So I have an initial sort of draft schema in terms of what are all the fields and everything. And just to play around, I created a two table setup, just as something to play with. And then I moved on to generating SQL queries from fixed messages. So the goal was to parse a fixed message and actually be able to generate um, SQL queries. So I was able to get that done. Then I try to feed the database with a series of inserts that I generated from a comma delimited file. So I have a file with the top row with the field names. The rest of it is all the rows, values for each field. Take that file, parse it using like awk and sed, and generate a massive insert statement that's inserting all these rows of data. I made good progress initially, which felt good. It's good. It's good when you study something and you practice something, and you come up with a problem, and you're able to sort of work through the problem, sort of realizing the knowledge that you've acquired. So it's one thing that to learn new skills. It's another thing to actually be able to utilize those skills. Like, that's, to me, it's a rewarding feeling when you're doing something like, I know this, I know that, oh, that's da da da, like application of the actual knowledge, right? Because that's a testament to the fact that you've actually acquired the knowledge, and it's an empowering feeling to be able to realize new knowledge. So I made some good progress initially. Then I got some little tweaks at the end. There were some things. It was like I was close. I was like 90 to 95%, probably more like 95% of the way there. Like, I quickly got to that point where the end result was pretty good. You know, it was a decent insert statement, but it had some syntax errors, which were a result of my lack of understanding of some of the sort of the rules of the parsing that I was doing. The syntax, the um, shell interpretation, special characters, um, loop iteration concepts, variable assignment concepts within the loop, it's interesting that you can learn something and know how to do something, but when you lack the understanding of what you're doing and how it's being done, that can actually be limiting to the point where you can have an arrogance before, like, oh, I know this stuff. Then a situation comes up that proves that you really don't know it. And I don't want to say, and I guess it's a difficult statement to make. Like, you want to, yeah, I know it. You want to feel like you know it, like you work really hard. It's not that you don't know it literally, but it's that you don't know it as well as you think you do. You may understand sort of the surface concepts, but it's the nuance that will get you. So, say a young kid, I know how to drive a car. Press on the brake to slow down. You step on the gas to go faster. You turn the wheel left and right to turn, right? Put them on the road, and then they see a strange sign. They don't know the rules of the road. Like, what does this sign actually mean? Is this legal? Can I go here? Can I turn left here? Can I go right here? Does that mean to stop, to wait? Um, how do I brake in slippery conditions? My brake's locked up. Should I hold the brake down? Should I pulse the brakes? Um, I know to turn the wheel to turn, but I'm just going in a straight line, right? The nuance that you missed was that there's inconsistencies in the road, right? You're not driving a perfect vehicle. You're not driving on a perfectly flat surface. You're not driving in a vacuum where the environment is perfect. So you have things like wind resistance. Um, so that's the nuance that a young kid may not be aware of. So he's like, yeah, I know how to drive. And technically, they know the fundamentals: turn the wheel to steer, brake to slow down or stop, gas to go forward. But the kid may not be aware that you can't just get on a highway that's straight and just hold the steering wheel straight, because inconsistencies in the road and a lot of other factors, wind and all those things, all those variables can lead to the car drifting to the left and drifting to the right. So another procedure is that you need to be able to maintain your lane even when you're going straight, right? Um, so it's the same thing with you know any technical skill that you acquire. You may understand the surface concepts, but when it really gets down to it and you're trying to problem solve, um, and then you start utilizing some of that knowledge and getting unexpected results, that's kind of the wake up call that says to you that you really don't understand it as much as you think you do. Right? Because when you really understand something, when you've mastered something, talking about programming, something technical, I think it applies just technical things in general, but when you really understand something, to demonstrate that, to like, what does it mean to really master like a programming language, for example? To me, one, and I mean, it's not one answer. It's not a black and white thing. But I think one of the things that determines that you have really mastered a programming language is when there are few surprises, right? Now, in problem solving, you may not may. I mean, yeah, you will spend a lot of time in the thought process of design, like how can I solve this problem? Not trying to figure out the language or what can the language do or how you can do things with the language, because you've mastered it, right? You know what it can do and you know how to get it done. The question is, so I know how to use this language, I know what it's capable of, I know how to get it to do what I want it to do, but what do I want to use this language for? How do I want to use this language in terms of what strategy can I utilize to solve this problem? Now, when you've really mastered the language, once you come up with a strategy, that's bulk of the work, because you can just go ahead and execute that strategy. You're not going to be perfect. You might make some little mistakes here and there, but for the most point, when you go and try to execute on your strategy, um, you're not going to have many surprises. Right? If you say, I want to take this data and put it into an array And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep track of all the values in the array, and I'm going to cross-reference them with a secondary array. One of the arrays won't be changeable, the other one will. Whatever it is. Like if you that's your plan, you know how to do that. You go in and you use the correct syntax, you use things correctly. You might make a little mistake here and there, but you quickly catch it even if you do. Like you do something and then you get an error like, oh, no, I got to do this. You know what I mean? But when you don't really understand the language, that's when you get surprises. Like for example, with me when I was trying to do the parsing, there's some things I didn't understand. I typed in one thing and I saw it one way, the shell saw it a different way. Right? I was unaware of certain things in terms of how the shell would see certain syntax. When I put these in quotes, when I put this here, when I do this substitution, how will the shell see that? And therefore, what will be the results? So because I didn't know that, I got unintended results, which kind of was something that I stumbled on. I had to go back and forth and try this, try that, got a little bit of tinkering, but then finally, I got a nice clean query, and I ran it, and it was giving me an error. So previously, there's two things. I have to master the syntax of the query, and I have to master the language that I'm using to generate the query. So once I got to the point where I had mastered the generation of the query, so I got the query that I wanted, then I stumbled on a misunderstanding I had about the query syntax. So I believe the correct query syntax is ABC. I finally figure out how to generate ABC. So my parsing is generating what I want. It's my results, right? As far as the query, not as far as the end results, because the query itself is actually wrong, so it fails. Not because of the parsing. The parsing was successful. The parsing generated what I wanted, but then what I wanted was actually a bad. Well, not that I wanted a bad query, but the thing that I wanted was actually a bad thing. I just didn't realize it. It was a mistake in my syntax. So I was getting a field unknown or whatever. If I remember correctly, something about I think that the field names and the values, I think in SQLite cannot be on the same row, or something to that effect. So what was happening? I had this long row, and it would read everything in that row as field names. So since I had field names and then values, when it got to the values, it's like, what column is this? I don't know what column you're talking about. It's not a column, it's a value. But the syntax that I was giving it was saying that it was a column, right? So I had to understand what the correct syntax was. So I had to figure that part out in terms of what's the SQL syntax. So figure out the parsing, good. The SQL query was wrong. Figure that out. Boom. I did an insert on all the rows that I wanted. Successful. Done. So I got that done. So I want to do a refresher today. Then I want to play around with some actual queries, different queries, so I can get familiar with the SQLite syntax. Then I want to graduate to exploring actually generating, not generating queries, but actually sending queries to the database from something that I build. So I want to build something that has the ability to talk to the database. So instead of me manually doing queries, I will build something that will actually generate queries. Let me see who is hitting me up. I've been getting spam from Uber. It's insane. apparently it's like there's these robo scams that like robo calls, I guess robo text messages. So I keep getting from different numbers a whole bunch of this Uber. If you look online, you see people complaining about it. It's so annoying. At all hours of the night, 10 p.m., 3 a.m., 3:19 a.m. It's insane. But that's not why my phone beeped. I don't know why it just beeped. I don't see anything new. 11:33. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm at. So more database today, and then I wanna before the day is over, I wanna get back into looking at the GUI stuff that I worked on last week. I want to plug in those buttons into the functions to actually have the buttons be functional. Um, and I still need to figure out assignments. Nick has been a little bit busy lately, so hopefully he will have some more time this week because I want to start getting assignments out today, this week rather. Figure out who's doing what, and have someone else that wants to help us out as well. I got to coordinate with that person. So anyway, that's where we're at. I hope you guys are doing well and have an awesome week. And happy holidays. Just FYI, if I don't seem 100% myself, I'm dealing with some stuff. I mean, I'm good. I'm a fighter. You know, they say what doesn't break you makes you stronger. I'm the person who, you know, all the world will come against me and try to push me down. I don't mean that person like people attacking me or something, just in general, like life stresses or obstacles. And I will rise like a phoenix and you know, persevere. I'm human, depending on how big of a load it is. You know, I may have my moments where I go into my little hole for a little bit, but that's generally short lived. And when I come out, you better watch out. You better watch out. I forget the lyrics. Santa's coming to town. Santa. Like I was saying, you know, and that's something that it it might be unique to me, but I honestly believe that you can choose to take the same attitude as well. You know, I'm only human. I'm not from some other galaxy or something. I'm not made of something greater than what any of you guys are made of, right? You guys can choose to let obstacles and stress pull you down, family, work, life in general, or you can choose to look at the light at the end of the tunnel, even if the light is so small you can barely see it. We all have the ability to choose. And one of the most powerful techniques that I have adopted in my life is take the negative energy of things that are holding you back and ball them up and refocus them towards something positive. Your family's holding you back, your job is holding you back, um, your landlord is holding you back, the government is holding you, whoever it is, whatever it is. That obstacle is going to build up a lot of energy, right? Emotions and frustration and why, right? That's energy, right? That is energy. That energy, you see it manifested in negative ways usually. Like you see somebody, they'll get pissed off and then they have an outburst. They do something they don't mean to do. They'll go get drunk or who knows what they'll do. right? You can see it, those are very active ways, but that energy can also be used to sort of quell or suppress. Like you could be the most motivated person and energetic and all that kind of stuff, and the negative energy from, obstacles can suppress even the most energetic and motivated person like myself, right? That's a lot of power. But just like electricity, you can choose what that energy does. You can choose to let it be wasted as heat, or you can channel it and focus it towards something effective. Um, like imagine, I think this is done. I think this is done. I can't remember the system, but there's a system that'll take heat rather than wasting it. It'll use it where heat is required, right? Maybe there's another system that needs to be kept warm. Um, Rather than use energy to generate heat, you take excess heat and refocus it towards something that is productive. So the bottom line is, take all that energy and frustration. It's okay to get frustrated, get angry. Sick of this, I'm tired. But focus it. So I am going to overcome all this by being successful at something else. This stuff isn't working, but there's something else that I have a goal in my life. I'm going to focus all that energy towards that thing. I'm going to let my success with that thing quiet all the noise of all the negativity of whatever else is going on. Right? And from that positive energy that I'll gain from positive, productive efforts, that will allow power to overcome the other obstacles as well. Because you can't really accomplish things from a downed state, from a I'm upset and I'm depressed or whatever, right? So be successful with something which empowers you, and in that empowered state, you can also accomplish other things that have been holding you back. Maybe money was an issue for a couple of different things. By you being successful with something that generates money, now you are in a more empowered state, and you have this power from the money as well. So now you have the money to throw at these things that require money, right? So that's my advice to you guys, and that's what I'm doing. But it's not perfect. Life is not black and white, so just be mindful that I am dealing with some stuff, some personal stuff right now. Such is life. I am I don't want to say I'm in a good state, but let's just say I'm taking command rather than letting things command me. So the sleeping giant has been awoken. Punch me once, I come back 3 times. The more you throw at me, the more I come back with. Right? All right, guys. CPU squad.